Here we are. I am heading over to the train station. It smelled a little bit like overly cooked scrambled eggs when I came out, when they get extra dry and everything. But there's Comcast. So venturing outside of the normal property lines of Philadelphia. There was a joke a long time ago, kind of, you know, like, how do you get Sharon to get out of Philadelphia? Oops, sorry. And kind of, this is a long, long, long time ago, like 2008, 2007. And anyway, so anyway, a long time ago, there was this one person who I kind of knew, who was kind of a friend. Not really. She was a little bit of a bully, but I barely knew her. I knew her only because I showed up to Sister's nightclub, and she happened to hang out there a lot. But anytime I would leave Philadelphia, she's like, "Oh my God, Sharon's actually leaving Philadelphia." But usually the reasons I couldn't leave were either monetary, or after 2011, I was really kind of stuck in a vortex that kept me operating at like a million miles per hour, kind of trapped in dog walking, all kinds of stuff going on here in the city. Not, that kind of stuff. The same stuff doesn't happen. Different things happen. And oddly, the pandemic kind of threw people off course and put an end to this kind of stuff. Still happens, but it's much less, and so forth and so on. So anyway, I figured I'd head on over to Amtrak. There's been 2 delays. So one of them was 30 minutes. The train, runs up east and north along the eastern corridor. So I guess coming into New York, that the train that I'm supposed to be on was 30 minutes late. But then I got another text saying, they made up some time. So it's 18 minutes late now. So it's possible they'll be closer to the original start time. I was able to get these tickets incredibly cheap, like $6.50 each way, amounting to a total of $13. I'm super cheap for various reasons. I want to make sure I keep a roof over my head, and that's that. So hi, Joe. Yes. On your way. Yes. So my sister will be there, and then also my niece, and then one of my nephews, who I only know so well, sadly, because I've been here ever since he was born. I've really been in Philadelphia or Gainesville. And then a friend of my sister's will be there, as far as I know. So anyway, this is a new one here. They must be doing something. But SEPTA train, I'm actually taking Amtrak, and oddly, it might be less than the regional rail. I went on to check. I was like, I'm willing to pay regular prices, which would normally be like $20-ish each way, I think. Like anywhere from $15 to $20 each way, non-peak hour. For some reason, they had some seats that were $6.50 on regular Amtrak. It's not an Acela train or anything. It's a regular, it's probably Keystone or whatever those regular ones are through Amtrak, but it's still a train. I used to take the R2 all the time. They run all the way to Newark only during peak times, Monday through Friday. Otherwise, it doesn't really run that much. It runs sparingly on the weekends to Wilmington, but Amtrak will always stop at Wilmington. It's a popular business hub, and a lot of people from like parts like Washington D.C. and stuff like that, they often use Amtrak, and Delaware is a hot spot. Of course, Biden used Amtrak. That was part of his public service, advertising, if you will. Go this way. So anyway, I always read this as, we won't get into it, but there was someone I knew, I read it as a DUI pile. So it's a Dewey, like D-U-I-E, and then P-Y-L-E, like Gomer pile. But that truck and business started showing up all of a sudden when I knew someone very specifically who would kind of joke about it. And I had read something about people who get I guess they're in the world of security and they get clearances and so forth and so on. And they're like, can you go higher level on clearances, say, if you work for that type of world? And while having a DUI. So like, say you're in the military, a lot of people might have DUIs, it's just part and parcel of a certain world, high pressure, whatever. Can you still try to test for higher clearance in the world, that whatever, like top secret or whatever these people do, clandestine operations and so forth and so on. So, and it's in there, the forum, it said you could, as long as you paid your dues, what have you, due diligence, as long as you paid your dues and did what you were supposed to do, they see it as sort of a normalcy in society. Some people never have anything like that. For whatever reason, they don't really have issues. But turns out it doesn't affect unless it becomes like a serial habitual situation. So anyway, this truck kept showing up and I was like, that is too funny. They tried to turn it into a funny thing. So anyway, DUI pile. Who but WMD Mason over there? It doesn't take long to walk over here. So the train was set to leave around 2:16. Let's see, quicker at 30th Street. Yes. No, I'm coming back. It's a kind of a quick visit. So my sister and niece and nephew and my sister's boyfriend or friend is coming in. And like an hour and a half to 2 hour visit, depending. Of course, the delay on this train is, kind of cuts into that a little bit. So I'm hoping it came back down to like only 10 minutes late or something. But the Wilmington train station is very close to the Blue Rocks Stadium, Frawley Stadium. It's very, there's a whole developed, little waterfront in Delaware. So when we were growing up, that didn't exist. It took many years. It was really somewhere in the 90s that became more formalized, I guess, as like you can go. They did have the Big Kahuna. That's right. The Big Kahuna came later, probably around when I was 18 or somewhere between 18 and 20. So anyway, that's that. So there's plenty to eat there. In fact, there's a Starbucks there, of course. So all within walking distance of the train station. And there's free parking, I think, over by the outlets, which are near the Blue Rock Stadium. So I'm just going in for, hour and a half to 2 hours. Assuming, I can get a later train if it becomes an issue. It's not a big deal. I was just really proud to find tickets for $6.50. I was like, are you kidding? So grab those up right quick. So other ones would be like $24. So like after 4:30, it would be more like peak time. Now Wednesday, I don't know. It depends on what's going on in the world. Also, there's the Phillies to think about. I'm guessing that the trains could get busy because people would come up from Delaware to go to a Phillies game, but tonight there isn't one. Let's see. Okay. All right. Let's see here. All right, back here, my sister texted, so it sounds like they want to park by the stadium/outlets or whatever. It's all in the same vicinity. It's all intertwined, and we can get something there. So it should allow for enough time. So I'll head here. It's cooler than I thought. I don't know if you guys have been out. I was watching the weather, and they made it seem like today would be like 69 degrees, almost 70. And of course it's cloudy, but I've been out walking dogs, and when the sun is out, even with sunrise, sunset, and if I wear certain clothes, I'll start to sweat like crazy. I did bring an extra shell of a jacket in my bag, so technically I could put that on. I have on a light windbreaker coat and a t-shirt, or I guess actually I have on a plaid, like a button-down shirt. So I changed my mind like 6 times because of laundry issues. So I have like a pack of V-neck white t-shirts, a black t-shirt that says "Human After All." It's Daft Punk, like imagery from that band. They would sing, or they they're famous for it's like that techno pop electronic band from back in the day. They did like Interstellar 5555, and anyway, I can't think of a song right now because my mind is. What I keep thinking of is Tame, right? Whatever you call it, Tame. The less I know, the better. That song. It's so the less I know, the better. She was holding hands with Trevor. So it's Tame something, and now I forgot what that is. So here's fine wine, good spirits. There's never a shortage of stuff like this. So, and it can. When I shopped for Shipped. When I shopped for Shipped, I was told to turn around for a second, I guess, because sometimes I don't like showing people on the thing just because I know, life sucks for a lot of people, but other people might try to detract. It's everybody has their own opinion about everything. So anyway, but when I shopped for Shipped, liquor stores would come into action at some point. It was like a new thing during the pandemic. And I would go in there, and it's like I can see how quickly the environment of these stores can suck people in big time. And everything looks like candy. Everything looks pretty. There's cool. They play on the cool thing. Imagine I look at it like this. Every time you enter into a domain, like a house, a grocery store, condo, whatever, you're going to pick up on different energies. So they cross the street just for me. So anyway, so when you walk into, say, a state liquor store or whatever, I see it as like someone's show. Like they know exactly what buttons to push, right? And they know exactly how to trigger stuff for people. And, all of a sudden it's like, oh, I want this. It's like going into a mall. Oh, all of a sudden I want that shirt. All of a sudden I want this shirt. So anyway, for me, abstain. So there's a word. I don't use that often, but you sort of have to abstain or stay away. I don't really have an issue with stuff like that. I don't know why. People are wired differently. A lot of things, I'm very sensitive, so a lot of things are too painful or hurtful. So even just drinking something that's too strong, I throw up all over the place. So anyway, not stepping into these locales is basically the answer, because I see it as someone controls all these locations. Someone's in control. Someone runs your experience at the 7-Eleven. Someone runs your experience. And in a way, you could say, I don't want that person to be able to heavily influence or compel me to buy something, and then they wind up incredibly wealthy while everybody else is like strapped with, whether it's addictions or whatever, or a money issue because they decided, let's totally have a soiree, and this looks pretty, that looks pretty, we're in a wet bar. In fact, where we grew up, my sister and I grew up in a house that didn't have a wet bar. So a lot of people had wet bars just for show. They're middle class. We have to have a wet bar because, and I realize there's some stressors in some people's jobs back in the day. It's a very 70s, 80s, cherry cordial existence. It's like, do we really even need one? You know what I mean? Or do we have to impress the neighbors at Christmas parties, So anyway, heading on here. The less I know, the better. She was holding hands with Trevor. Let these people go, make it easier on life here. There goes the SEPTA train now that he can barely see it there into Townwood. There's a new truck. So I was in the practice, sort of like forcibly so, of recognizing every brand, every truck, everything, makes and models. Here's a Chevy Traverse Maroon here on the northwest corner of Raleigh 23rd-ish, and market. So anyway, of course, the Pico building. There's Pico. You can still come here and pay your bill or deal with disputes and stuff like that. It seems old school, but you can still pull that number and wait in line. Tacoma. I have a friend who has a Tacoma in Florida. In fact, he gave me a Starbucks card. Every once in a while, he just randomly, I think he has like a group of friends and he just like on a mailing list and he just sends people gift cards, because I've seen him buy gift cards for other people. And every once in a while, he'll just send a gift card. So anyway, Customer Solution Center, that's what it says over there. I had a friend from South Philly and he always came up here and paid his bill this way, as opposed to, say, like adopting the more modern, like pay online or even just writing a check with a stamp. But he had the time and he wanted to come up here and just do it this way for whatever reason. So it's very Philadelphia to do that. All right, so finally taking an afternoon off here. We will head over the bridge. All this has been redone. All this that used to be, it still is partially a design center, but used to have a humpback whale mural on the riverside wall. They have redone this quite a bit, so there's all windows. It looks like a regular building now. FMC Tower, I took care of dogs there. 46 flowers, 46 floors up, aka extended stay. It has 46 floors, that's as high as it goes in terms of residential or commercial. Like residential would be extended stay hotel, aka. And 46, of course, could correlate to the president, 46th president. And that building was opened, around 2017, 18-ish, somewhere in there. Mr. Softy truck all the way down here. I associate things with certain people, so Mr. Softy's in the house is what I would say. Actually, I associated it with a guy. He was one of the prosecutors at the George Floyd trial. So Matthew Frank, I think his name is. He's sort of the one you couldn't help, he has an appeal, like a hot appeal-ish. And he wound up a judge. I looked him up because I was like, oh my God, he wound up being appointed to a judge. He's had a lot of cases. He went to Hamline University. So anyway, I forget where that is, but what I see is Hamline. And I see someone on a specific track. So we'll just go with it. I'm in the Latham, which is Latham. So I wound up here by, it's random to me, kind of. So I called around. These people knew me from the past for properties, and so they're like, don't worry, as long as you have the money and keep paying rent, we have no issues. So anyway, but just made it, and we'll just keep going. The universe will just keep people going. So we'll just go with it. Anyway, FMC. Pete's famous, right? Here, I'll wait for Ruth. All right. So actual professionals using the train. That's so funny. Then then the students or whatever who say goodbye for the time being. Right. Oh, I'll see you next holiday or whatever. This is called the porch. We're going in here. That's like a Dr. Seuss tree, or technically it has leaves. My mom had bushes in the front of the house, and they had these similar leaves, but not as droopy. It was more like a bush. KYW News Radio Sports. Some radio stations are there. Oh, 2400. Oh, okay. I didn't know that. 650. Right. I was surprised. That's unusual to see that price, but I'm guessing because it's not a peak time. And it's on one of the lesser trains, not an Osceola, whatever it is, Acela Express. So you can no longer go in these doors. That's where I would have gone. You walk through a seating area that's off on the side where you can eat and stuff. So government issued Ford here, Excursion or Amtrak Explorer or whatever. Bikes, I used to ride my bike up here. That's when I was doing the whole MFA thing. I felt sort of like I had to hurry up and get an MFA, thinking it would help me I thought it would help me get a certain type of job and be able to leave Philadelphia, but that would not be the case. But I would lock my bike. Really, here, they actually had more around the corner here, and that's where I parked. They might have changed it in recent years. They did. Oh no, here's some, right, they had a lot more over here. They used to have a ton of bike stands over here. Like that debacle would have been over here. And that's where I would park my bike or lock my bike. Should we go in this one or? All right, we'll head on this way. So that's the dealio there. So high police presence, I guess. And of course, with Israel and all that other stuff going on, it would be like an issue. So we'll go on in, I guess. And I'll either turn on a new one or I'll catch up with you later. So there you are, the big entryway. Here we are, and I'll check for the train station information or the train schedule. So thank you, Joe. I appreciate it. Anyone else who's in, thank you for listening. I'm just sort of talking and walking, and I will see you on the flip side. Thank you.